Welcome to today's episode on Montresor Legal's General Counselling podcast. Today's episode we will dive into thought-provoking discussions that shed light on an amazing topic, one which is often overlooked yet profoundly significant: gender identity in the legal profession. I'm joined by two amazing guests.
Three
amazing guests. It's so amazing to have you both on the pod. Thank you so much for coming. Would you like to both introduce yourselves and tell us a bit about you?
Yeah, sure. So shall I go for it? Okay,
yeah.
So I'm Danni Davies. I'm a real estate lawyer. I call myself an operational real estate lawyer. So
Cool.
My focus is on hospitality, hotels, sports, leisure, that kind of thing. And I work for Latham Watkins, and I have been there for about 6 years. I'm now 9 years qualified.
Amazing.
And yes, what else?
That's
Who's this?
Oh, and this is Arthur. So Arthur is my little Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, and he comes to work with me most days actually.
Oh, amazing.
It's quite amazing.
And I'm Sal Morton. I don't have a spaniel with me today, I'm afraid. Yep, I'm Sal Morton. I'm a writer, researcher, marketer, and all-round advocate for inclusion and justice. And I use the pronouns they, them.
Yep.
I also use they, them pronouns. And yeah, I also do a lot of advocacy work for the LGBTQ plus community. I'm on the board of a charity called Open for Business, which is promoting the economic case for inclusion around the world for LGBT people. And I also am on the Latham Watkins Diversity Leadership Committee, which is a global committee that oversees all of our diversity groups. So
Wow.
that includes LGBT, but it also includes women, parents, black people, Asian and Middle Eastern people. We have a Hispanic group. I mean, there's really something for everyone. So yes,
amazing.
I'm covering the full range.
I don't
of
know how you found time. It's like you've got 3 jobs.
I know. Yeah,
Yeah.
including dog parent.
Yes.
Is that one of the 3?
Definitely.
Oh, amazing. Well, thank you for introducing yourselves. It would be great if perhaps you could both tell me a bit about sort of, your stories and dive into, your experience of coming out as non-binary within the legal profession. I'd love to hear more about it.
Okay. So I started out as a trainee solicitor this is 2012. So this is 12 years ago now.
Yeah.
And I started out at a West End law firm called Radcliffe's Lebrasser, a really lovely firm, but at the time I was nowhere along in my journey to where I am now, and I didn't actually come out as anything at all for the whole training contract, and so I basically presented as straight male for that entire time, and it was only really as I was leaving that I did start referring to my partner, and I started to
yes.
I started to maybe tell them a little bit, a couple of people, and I think people were actually surprised that I didn't say anything earlier and were a bit disappointed that maybe I didn't. And so I made it my point when I started as a newly qualified solicitor at my next firm, which was now called BCLP. So I made it my point, even in the interview, to ask them what kind of things they did for LGBT people, and could I join their committee. And I was, very
great.
open about it from the start. But again, I was only open about being a gay male, and I was wearing a suit and tie every day, and I really didn't start exploring my gender identity until I moved to Latham Watkins. I don't know what it was that maybe kicked it all off, but after about 2 years there was when I decided it was time to really show everybody who I am. And I started wearing makeup, and I changed the way I was dressing, and then I changed my email signature. I put my pronouns on there, and it's been a long road to getting to where I am now and to being really comfortable with myself. But years on, I am now fully comfortable and out and proud as a non-binary person.
That's amazing. And I'm really interested to know, particularly at such a corporate firm like Latham Watkins, what were your colleagues and superiors like in terms of their reactions to you coming out and, you know, actually being yourself, you know, dressing how you wanted and things like that?
Yeah, it's a big leap to take in a huge organisation like that, to go from being in a very comfortable existence where I think it's very easy to be just, you know, gay, lesbian, and cisgender. It's very easy to do that. But to change your gender and to change the way that everybody sees you and thinks about you when you've already been in a place for a couple of years, it's something that you've got to really want to do, because you've got to be brave to do it. As it happened, I just basically went there, and I figured the only way this is going to work is if I carry on being really good at my job and people like me for that. And so I just did little bit by bit, and I started with the name and I changed it just from Daniel to Danni with an I, and put that in the email signature. It also, you realise how many people don't read your email signature.
Yeah, definitely.
Once people start saying, oh, hi Daniel,
Yes.
but actually I'm saying Danni there. And so then you have to change it even further, and then you put the pronoun, and then people start to notice, and then you start doing, you know, a bit of the face, grew my hair out. Obviously, then I started taking hormone replacement therapy, and I guess my appearance was really changing quite a lot at that point. But yeah, I just kind of went for it and basically told everyone to come along for the ride with me.
Oh, that's so nice.
And
it's really good to know that you felt comfortable to do that at Latham as well.
Yeah.
I think Latham as a firm is really actually very inclusive.
Thought you were very brave.
Maybe they did, yeah.
And maybe
I was already the local leader of the LGBT group in London at the time.
Yeah.
But I wasn't the global leader, and so I then started telling people I was gender non-conforming, and and then I guess I'd been very active as the LGBT leader in London, and they gave me the global role, and so I took over the entire 17 network group across the globe. And I think people were really only supportive. I haven't actually ever had a single negative comment from anyone.
That's amazing.
Apart from, certainly not at Latham anyway.
I think it's like shown how much it's changed and like progressed over the years compared to when you first started your career. Have you both of you seen the progression in, you know, how supportive people are within this space?
Definitely. I think when I came out, which was in 2017, which was also the year that I was graduating, it was very difficult. I found it very difficult to get a job, and I was as a graduate, and I had graduated with a first class degree from a Russell Group uni, and was facing what I didn't know was prejudice until I had a little bit in my kind of cover letter template that said, as a trans individual, I really admire your company's efforts in the diversity and inclusion area, and hope that I can bring the same level of inclusion as you would wish to your teams. Blah, blah, blah. You know, just a little thing that said, you know,
you told
slipping
them,
in I'm trans, by the way. Yeah.
Right.
And in 3 months, I got 3 offers to interview.
Okay.
I took it off my cover letter because I became desperate. I'd ran through all my kind of saved up student finance at the end of that kind of graduating period, and I was a little bit more desperate. And I took it off that cover letter template, and I got 3 offers to interview within a week.
Really?
And I ended up working at Chambers and Partners, which is where I took my graduate job. They were one of the 3 that offered me an interview with it on the CV, and they were very keen to talk about it in the interview, ask how I'd like to refer to myself, talk about how there's other trans people in the company that are supported, and
that's good.
Yeah, so that was in 2017. Since then, you know, I've at that point I was using he/him pronouns, so I'm a trans masculine person and was using he/him pronouns. These days I use they/them pronouns, as I told you. But I feel like conceptually within the last 7 years there has been a lot of change in terms of general knowledge about non-binary people specifically existing. In 2017, you know, I knew one non-binary person and I didn't know much about them or what that meant.
No.
However, what has also brought with it in the last 7 years is a lot of public hatred towards trans people, and also regulated kind of people pushing for changes in regulation. I mean, we have a lobby group pushing for a bill in Parliament to change the Equalities Act to be able to discriminate against transgender people specifically. There is a lobby group and there are people putting a lot of money into that. A lot of famous people putting a lot of money into that as well. And so it's a very strange time in that when you're in these inclusive environments like you are at Latham, there are these kind of pockets of safety, and there are that are driven by individuals who are I mean, we were speaking earlier before we started recording about specific individuals at your job that are really like champions for you. And I think that's what it kind of comes down to, is those champions being more present, I think, over the last few years. Would you say?
I think there's some people at my firm who clearly are all in on the idea, and they think it's great that people can just be themselves at work. And it seems like our clients like that too, because we've got a really diverse client base, and that's really important. We've got to make sure that there might be clients who are also this way, and they might want to see somebody else who's working for them to be like that too. So we've got people at work who have championed it, but we've got people who have just respected pronouns, which is not that easy when you use they them either, because some people don't find it very natural to say. I've found that even when people don't get it right, sometimes they say, oh, I'm sorry, I meant to say they them, or sometimes they don't even think about it. But as long as, even if they use the wrong pronoun with me, as long as they're kind of accepting and celebrating who I am anyway, which I think they are,
and being respectful as
and
well,
being respectful,
and reflecting that I might have said the wrong pronoun,
but if they're still being really nice and friendly and clearly valuing you for who you are anyway, then maybe the word itself doesn't affect me in the way it might other people. Had I wanted to be binary trans woman, I think I'd find it more difficult if I was then called he, or if it went the other way, if you were a trans masculine person, you wanted to be called he and everyone was calling you she, I think then it gets more hurtful. But in that situation, you basically just have to try and explain to people what you'd like to be called, and then you'd hope that they then try and respect that, or make an effort.
I think I think on pronouns it's very interesting to me, because I live in a world where a large amount of people that I know use they them, and where my kind of whole family and workforce use they them for me seamlessly and quite naturally, and if there's ever anyone at work that just hasn't met me yet and hasn't, like you said, read my email signature, because who's reading email signatures, and no Zoom, Teams or Google Chat, there's no space to put pronoun in there on Google
on
Chat or Teams. So that's that's where people meet. Does yours have it?
I don't know if it's Teams or Zoom. I don't know. I think
Zoom you can change your
maybe it's
thingy.
Zoom.
I mean, people don't read my email signatures. My name's Stevie, and I often get referred to as Steve.
Oh no!
So Stevie.
Well, thanks for inputting that, Steve. Because
it's true. I'm like, it's Stevie, but okay. No, joking. It's become a long-standing joke now between me and my friends. It's like,
well, it's similar. I think that if people can get their head around calling you Stevie. People can get their head around calling, which is your real actual name.
Just to be
your actual full name is Stevie.
My full name is actually Stevie Joe.
I didn't know that. That's amazing.
There you go. Yeah.
Wow,
Stevie Joe.
So Steve
Two
Joseph.
Names,
well, double barrel. Yeah, I don't know who my mum thinks she is.
People if they don't read your email
androgynous.
Yeah, and they're both like, people always say to me like, oh, two boy names, and I'm like, actually, they're unisex. Can we just?
Very.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, this is it. If people have to remember how many people do you think you know? Obviously hundreds. And if you work at Latham Watkins, you're going to be encountering I can't even imagine how many people. We were talking about your billables earlier, and the amount of people that
a lot of
thousands of
billable
people a
hours.
year.
Yeah.
So if you can remember each individual person's name, I think it's very. It's not a big ask at all to be accommodating for one more pronoun. You know, this is obviously there's more than just the kind of three main pronouns that exist in the world.
Of course.
But in terms of adding that into your vocabulary, I think there's
still a lot of ignorance around it. You know, people are just like, find it frustrating, and it's like.
Yeah, I don't think everybody understands the they them pronoun. I have to say, sometimes I don't always keep it on my emails if I'm talking. Depends who I'm talking to.
Yeah.
So, for example, I have some Middle Eastern clients, and to be honest, it's not for that. They're very respectful to me. We have video calls, and we get on perfectly well. But maybe it just doesn't need to be talked about with them specifically. I think let's get through the phase of getting to know each other and working together and being and just being respectful of each other, and so that's the current stage we're at. If they get to know me, maybe the pronoun will come out.
This is it, isn't it? They're not your friends. They're this is a strict relationship.
It's a professional relationship. I mean, I do like to try and get to know my clients where I can. For example, I do a lot of work for Chelsea Football Club. Worked on the takeover in 2022, and so I still do a lot of their real estate work. And I like to get to know them, so I go and take Arthur to meet them, and we go for lunches or whatever. I take them out, and they obviously know me for who I am. And I'm very unapologetically me with all of those clients, and everybody likes it, because I do think that when you are just yourself, if you're kind of comfortable in yourself and you're confident, that's what matters. If you know what you're talking about and you're good at your job and you're just being yourself, why wouldn't people like you
of course,
and want to work with you?
And no one can take that away from you either. It's a skill, actually, to be able to just be yourself.
Yeah, I think it's also sometimes quite difficult for people when they're going through the gender dysphoria phase of feeling truly comfortable with themselves.
Totally.
I don't weirdly feel very dysphoric anymore. Since I've used the hormones, since I've been using the hormones, it's been like 3 years now, and my dysphoria is gone. I'm just very comfortable in my current where I am. But I used to think about my hair, I used to think about facial hair, I used to think about body hair, I used to think about the way I was looking. I thought I was going to, be growing old the wrong way. And so I was always thinking about it. Now I'm just, really happy and comfortable. But I think if you're going through that phase, I can see why people might find it difficult to then go into a super high pressure, I'm trying to get a training contract.
Yes, yeah.
I can see why you might find that difficult. But obviously, if anyone is going through that, like, they could come and talk to me and I can give them a chat, because it would be great to see some more trans, non-binary people and more queer people in the legal profession, for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Totally. What do you think that, legal institutions can do to better support trans and non-binary people? Not just in the workplace, actually no, I was meant to say in terms of workplace policies and their broader advocacy efforts.
Well, I think from a very generic point of view, a study that I did whilst I was at Chambers and Partners showed that a lot of the inclusion efforts at law firms, you can have a policy that gives people, you could even have, as Herbert Smith Freehills does, a policy that pays for trans lawyers' surgery.
Wow.
You can have that's on the high end, and that's something that will make a trans person feel extremely safe in their workplace.
I didn't know that was an option.
Do they do it through, is it through Bupa, or is it just that they're literally paying?
Not sure about the contractual details, but I think, potentially it's through their health it's probably through their health insurance that they have then extended to that.
That was something we've introduced at Latham, actually.
Wow, that's amazing.
So amazing. And I think
we have it for through Bupa.
It's so positive, like all these changes that are being made, and just
definitely. Not all firms, you know, if you work for a high street firm or
like
even
a boutique.
Or a boutique, you're not going to be able to
have those
pay
benefits
for those,
kind of.
for those things. So it's about thinking you can have those those huge headline policies, and you can obviously something that's an easy one. For example, hire a kind of very professional body to come in and deliver training to your management staff on how to be an inclusive manager. All these things that work very, very well. Though if you don't have a foundation of psychological safety for all your employees, for anyone who's got any layer of identity that adds to their kind of intersectional identity, so, you know, whether they're a person of colour, LGBT person, someone with a disability, every person has a kind of unique mix of things that makes them come to work in a different way. And that's kind of what we were talking about Latham's diverse workforce is so important to be able to have the people from all different backgrounds.
Yeah,
for sure. If not everyone is able to, for example, if you're not able to talk about, so say you're someone who has panic attacks, and imagine you had a panic attack and you had to take an hour or so off work to kind of recoup from something that happened. If you're not able to say to your manager what happened, and maybe you're keeping that a secret, that's going to be a blockage to your working relationship.
Of course.
And that's just one facet of being. And as trans and non-binary people, I think that we have a lot of things in our lives that people might not think about, that maybe they think, oh, your dysphoria is gone, so your problems are gone.
Medical appointments. I still have to go to a therapist.
Yeah, it's like it's like having another job sometimes. I think. Yeah. And just times when potentially something tough in the news that day. And that's something that people might not encounter.
I mean, I have that through all of my intersectional identity, as we say. So I'm Jewish as well, and so I've got a kind of dual identity in that sense, and obviously I'm really acutely aware of all the anti-Semitism that's rising in the country at the moment, and that's affected me really badly. It's affected me and a number of colleagues. Really, it's been hard for us.
Definitely.
It's been hard, and we don't have at Latham yet a dedicated affinity group for Jewish.
Is there interfaith?
We have a group called MPAC, which is a multicultural group, and so through that I'm hoping to bring in maybe a Holocaust survivor to speak. I went to see one yesterday and it was mind-blowing. So I'd really like to get them to speak. We're going to try and do inter-community events. So I was going to try and get there's a group called CST, which is deals with anti-Semitic hate crime, and they report them, and you can report to them, and they also provide security to Jewish community events. So it's going to get them, but also the Muslim equivalent, which is called Tel Mama. And I went to a City of London Belonging Project event with the two of them. I thought it was really good to hear from lots of different perspectives, and I thought it'd be great to get, because we obviously are a diverse firm. We've got Muslim people, we've got Jewish people. Let's bring everyone together, talk about what constitutes a hate crime and how to report it when you see it, how to support your colleagues when you hear something that might be considered racist or aggressive in some kind of way. So that's the kind of thing we're going to try and do.
Does that include sort of like homophobic, transphobic?
Well, it's also interrelated as well, because
psychological safety. People want to be sure that doing a job is very hard. You do a very hard job, and you don't want to have that extra barrier of, oh gosh, is some facet of my identity going to be brought up today? Or is some facet of my identity going to be a blocker today? And to know that the mechanism of the firm has your back. Would any individual bring something to your day that would constitute, obviously a hate crime is something very, very serious, but even on the kind of microaggression level, and
on the kind of, just something that kind of someone says something and it just kind of puts a downer on your whole day, or you see something through the window when you're driving down the road and you think, oh no, and then you're just in a really bad mood all morning.
or something on the news as
something
said,
that's come on the news, and obviously the news is really fraught at the moment, so there's lots of stuff for all of us that we probably don't like or we do. So yeah, it's all of that stuff can really affect your performance at work as well.
Absolutely.
It's really important to ensure that we in the legal profession recognise that, and we have safety groups and support groups for everybody. That's the point about inclusivity. We've not always included all groups in that, and really inclusivity should be about including everyone. That's what it's about. It's about being able to be yourself at work, no matter who you are and where you come from, and feeling like you've actually got the ability as yourself to get promoted to partner, to counsel, or to whatever position you want. It's not just about getting in through the door at training contract stage. It's about staying. And from our point of view as senior lawyers, it's really important for us to ensure that if someone does leave, and people leave all the time, attrition, we call it attrition, is good. It's good for people to come, stay for a few years, and if they find a better opportunity, they can go somewhere else, if they want to go in-house, wherever. But we want to ensure that the reason they go is nothing to do with their identity.
Yes. And not feeling inclusive.
And not feeling included in a team. Not feeling like they're an outlier. I am the only person who is non-binary in my team. I'm not the only Jewish person in my team. There's two of us. I'm not the only queer person in my team. There's two of us. But equally in the office, I'm one of the only non-binary. I'm probably the only non-binary person, let's be honest.
Only out non-binary.
The only out
person
non-binary.
currently.
There may be other people.
Yeah.
Because I think this as
There may
well.
be.
It's so. Yeah. No.
No, I was going to say, like you said at the beginning, for 2 years you wanted to be that person, but you felt like you couldn't.
I hid it for many years.
And I feel like there's probably loads of people who might be gay or whatever, who don't feel like
they don't feel
ready to share that information.
Yeah.
Were you always? Well, you said you were telling people in your.
I was trans approaching the workplace. Yeah. So I came out at 22, and had already begun a medical transition. Not that a medical transition is necessary for anyone at all, but had begun a medical transition to before I joined the workplace. And that was very interesting for me, kind of leaving university perceived as one gender and entering the workforce perceived as another gender. It was a very, very fun time. It's
interesting that you've gone through multiple transitions in one go.
Yes, and then I had another transition when I realised that a non-binary identity was me rather than that kind of binary trans man identity, and I found that transition actually harder in the workplace. Nothing to do with anyone else.
Non-binary transition.
Yes, I think that within the workplace and the legal sector, I was and doing a lot of networking events within the legal sector and other industries as well. I now work in audience intelligence, which is across all sectors. Right. And the more difficult part of transitioning for me was having to include the pronoun. And I feel like I'm very unapologetic, and I'm very unapologetically myself. So my terms of presentation, I don't kind of think twice. In fact, my facet of identity that I find hardest about my presentation is as a someone from working class background, in terms of dressing in a formal way.
Yes,
that is something that doesn't that doesn't fit with my identity.
I don't think I've ever, in the whole time I've known you, seen you to be wearing anything remotely corporate.
Yeah, I think it's kind of, and especially in this kind of work from home era, and now working in techie software as a service, I think it's a little easier for me to get away with than in the legal industry. But
you'd be surprised.
Really?
Yeah.
I know of a lawyer that is jogging bottoms, no socks, and feet on the table. So,
really?
Yeah. Stop.
Okay, maybe I don't know about that. Yeah. But we're quite. I mean, okay, I'm not very dressed down today. I'm quite dressed up.
No, I love the blouse. I did compliment you on it earlier.
Yeah,
thanks. But yeah, overall, unless you're seeing a client, then why does it matter?
Yeah.
I feel.
And it's very interesting because, as I said, my kind of gender presentation isn't something that comes into my sphere, and also like when I'm working, but when I'm at a networking event or something, there is an interesting thought of like, well, these people are only just meeting me now, so they don't know me. If they misgender me, that's because they also may think I'm not from the north from my accent. You know, there's other things.
Are you from the north?
I'm from Nottingham.
You're from Nottingham?
Nottingham. You can hear it. You can hear it.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
I'm not very good at the Nottingham accent. I'm from Manchester. I don't know if people
it's an
can
easier
tell.
accent to tell, but I don't think I have a Nottingham
I
accent.
do love a
I can't
northern
do
accent.
one.
Yeah.
It's just got such an edge to it.
Yeah.
No, I wish.
She's from Tottenham.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never mind.
So when you said you done a lot of
North
work
London.
with Chelsea,
Yeah.
when you said you've done a lot of work with Chelsea,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was
she's
trying to
soothing.
keep really quiet then. Cause,
rivals.
Yeah,
Rivals.
big
I do.
rivals.
I've just worked on the Man United sale as well,
Ah.
actually, the last few months.
That is so interesting.
Which was a lifelong dream for me because I'm a Manchester United season ticket holder, and I
Ooh.
still have a season ticket. I share it with my uncle, and
That's-
get to go to the odd game.
That's very
and,
fun.
So it was pretty cool to work on something that I was really genuinely interested in.
Yeah,
yeah.
And that's kind of
that's
Can I ask
amazing.
you like a specific question about working in the football? I was going to say working in the football arena, working in the football sphere.
Yeah.
Football is such a masculine
Oh my god.
pursuit and sport.
Yes, it is. I was actually, sorry to cut you off, but I was at Fulham last
Yeah.
Saturday to watch a game, and I was literally like where I was sitting, like the only female.
Yeah.
Were you?
So as a gender non-conforming person and non-binary
Yeah.
person,
Yeah.
when working with people in football, I would think that I think personally I would be really scared to go work in football because I would be like, oh gosh, these people might be a bit broy, a bit laddie. Do you find inclusion in the, so you said you take people from Chelsea out to dinner and
Yeah, and and I'm on Chelsea. Chelsea have created an ED&I advisory group, an advisory board, and I'm an external advisor on it.
Oh, cool.
And we're trying to help the club get some cultural change going within the organisation.
That's
And
so interesting.
I helped them do their Rainbow Laces campaign, which is the anti-homophobia in football campaign.
Yeah,
Um,
really good.
really cool was that this was 2022. I was on some panel, and it was with the Chelsea Pride Network and also the Man United Pride Network, and then a few other people. I think there was a former footballer who'd come out, and I was on the big screen at the Man United Chelsea game and was in the programme, and so I still
Huge
got
moment
that.
for you.
It was like
That's
the best
amazing.
thing ever, the best thing to ever happen.
Is that
to
kind
me.
of a childhood
That's
dream
so
moment? That
great.
Yeah. So
That's
That's
amazing.
so great.
and that just all came out of the work that I do for them, organising a lot of the property portfolio.
I think
We've
that's
got,
really
a stadium and a
interesting.
training ground. So would I say that my gender identity has had any impact? I think in a way it's a positive thing because I'm just being myself, and I like football. So I think as long as you can, I do talk about football with them. That's the thing with some of them.
So
But
then
not
you
with
feel
all
like,
of
yeah,
them.
you've got like something in
Yeah.
common. And
Yeah, I mean, we talk more about Arthur, my dog, than I do,
Yeah.
probably.
Where
but,
is he? He's around here
He's
somewhere.
wandered off over
He's been
there.
pottering.
He's pottering around.
Yeah. Sorry, I took you right off topic with
yeah.
that question,
No, that's
Stevie,
okay.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
it
it's
is interesting.
very
though.
interesting.
Yeah, no, it was just something that came to mind.
And also generally, I think it's important also to think about the women's side of the game, which
Yeah.
is super LGBT friendly.
very, very,
Yeah, yeah.
very.
Very LGBT friendly. And so I do a lot of Latham affinity group events for our women's and our LGBT network,
Yeah.
where we take people to go and see Chelsea women matches.
Oh, nice.
And so we've been to a few, which
That's
has been
so
really
good.
nice. So actually, on that side, it's very LGBT friendly, and you can feel very included.
Lovely. That's great.
I think just to finish off, it would be really good if we could talk about, any advice that you'd offer to any other non-binary individuals or trans individuals aspiring to pursue a career in law, particularly in terms of navigating, any potential challenges that they're having relating to their identity.
Yeah. I guess we came at this from different angles because you were open from the very start, and I went through somewhat of a journey and hid my identity and covered, I think that's what they call it, for many years. I would say be yourself from the beginning. Try to, if you're going for a training contract, there's so many firms now which are doing LGBT focused recruitment events where they would.
That's great.
So Latham does one. I know a
That's
lot
good
of the
to
Magic
know.
Circle firms do it, where you can actually go and be celebrated for who you are. And it's not just obviously open to LGBT people, it's open to allies as well. But there are those kinds of opportunities out there. Seek them out. Try and get to all the LGBT networking events. And I think if you go in through that angle, you'll probably feel more comfortable straight away. If you don't go through that angle, it doesn't really matter either. I think you can always just turn up and be who you are. And you can always ask, do they have any kind of LGBT or diversity network in the interviews? And say that's the kind of thing I'd like to help the firm with.
Yeah.
And you can say that actually I want to help with business development on that side as well, because our clients will have LGBT networks who will want to do joint events. And so there's lots of opportunity out there, and actually there's a perfectly good business case for being open and being yourself in the workplace. So I would say don't do what I did. Be confident from the start and just get in there and be yourself and be enthusiastic about what it is that the firm does that fits with what you do. So if you've done work experience in a retail chain, you could talk about how you'd like to work in maybe the property sector because you learned about the leases, or you'd like to maybe work in the commercial sector because you learned about the commercial contracts. And that's the approach I would take.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really good point about I think people say that the business case, and I know that the charity that you are on the board for is one that kind of advocates for there being a business case for inclusion. I think it's very important to build that confidence within yourself. Now, that's kind of easier said than done, especially, if you think back to your kind of self. Is there anything that anyone could have done to kind of make you that confident? Well, who knows? But I think that there is a really good way to kind of build confidence in that area is to think, well, yes, go out and meet people. If you can't go to these networking events, reach out on LinkedIn to people that you see, or reach out to these specific organisations or charities that are trying to actively include you. They want you. I think this is the thing, is that people want LGBTQ talent in their workforce, and I think that it's very important to remember that. I also think that if you can't bring that level of confidence yourself, then just have a think. You've kind of got two options. You've got an option to be unapologetically yourself and bring that to a workplace, and be there from the beginning, kind of as you are. Maybe you might pare it back. I mean, I think everyone, when they start a new job, pulls themselves back a little bit before they release their any quirkiness, you might not even want to say certain hobbies, your partner, anything about that, until you kind of scope out who people are. That's normal and fine. But I think the only other alternative is to work in a place that would only have you if you weren't you. And I really had a great time working at Chambers and Partners, because they were one of those organisations that wanted to know more about me when I put it on my cover letter. I was open with them and they were open with me. And though, there were teething issues and things weren't perfect, and not every individual was perfect, but my team really was. And it's because they were specifically interested in me being there as myself. And I think that you've got to kind of see it as those two options. Do I hide myself for the entire duration, or do I kind of only accept myself with this layer of my identity missing? And though, yes, as you're saying, be very interested in the work that the firm does, and because you're there to work, you're there to do a job, you're there, don't need to talk about your identity for more than
hard.
a little bit of the interview. But the main thing to think about is, well, I'm myself, and I'm gonna have to continue to be myself whilst I'm at work, which I'm at work for many hours of the day. And if you're at Latham Watkins, I imagine many hours of the day. So I think it's about the effort that you put up front to have that difficulty in being confident, and it will pay off because it means that you will be doing less emotional labour down the line, closing yourself off. And I hope that everyone kind of knows that they don't have to work anywhere where they don't feel safe or included, and that it's difficult, but I mean, obviously we can take temporary moments to do things that we don't want to do, but in terms of longevity, you don't have to take a role that does not feel comfortable for you.
Great. No, it's a great insight, and I think, you know, the more firms create more inclusive and safe environments, then the more people will feel comfortable in coming out and actually being themselves, and then will work better, will be more, you know, productive, will do a better job because they feel safe and comfortable. You know, nobody wants to be working feeling sorry. That would be funny if we kept that in the little
let's get it. Let's get in here. Come on.
Bring him back.
But yeah, I think it's been a really insightful chat, and I feel even more educated than what I was before, and I'm so passionate about this topic, and I'm like, I feel very involved within the community because I've got lots of, you know, friends who are, you know, within LGBTQ. It's been amazing to speak to someone in, you know, the industry that I work in. To, you know, give me a good overview of like their experience and how it's been. You know, it's amazing.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing to know that like a law firm like Latham's has such a good reputation for creating such a safe space.
Definitely.
It's great.
There's some very easy steps as well, because I think that not everyone listening will be under the trans umbrella. For those allies that are listening, there are some really easy steps if you want to kind of take this further. If you work in a position of your firm or place of work where you can get some specific inclusion training or consultants into your firm, there are two great charities. There's Gendered Intelligence is a wonderful charity to contact. And if you're an individual who might not be able to have that sway in your work, and you want to kind of learn more about being trans and non-binary in Britain at the moment, there's a great book called The Transgender Issue by Sean Fay. Which
you recommended that book to me when I first met you.
I've not heard of it. So.
It's a really great book, and I think that maybe some of the things, because your experience as a non-binary person, you might think, well, I know this. But she's an incredible writer, and she's a former lawyer as well, so she probably writes in a way that any lawyers listening can easily
relate
digest.
to. Big words.
No, I think actually very accessible words. And also, if you want to learn a little bit more about non-binary specifically, None of the Above by Travis Alabanza is a very great and easy to read book that
you can post the links. Is there when this
gets
posted
I
online?
can include
pop the links in,
Pop the links
and they've got great audiobooks as well for anyone who's listening to this and loves an audiobook. The authors read both of those books themselves in the audiobook. Very easy to understand, get to grips with, and really delves into the issues that we don't have time to talk about today. But very very helpful. And biggest ally here, Arthur.
He is definitely an LGBT ally.
He is an ally. Oh. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Stevie,
for coming on the pod. It's been honestly amazing. I could chat to you both all day.
Absolutely.
But
I was also going to say before we go, also, if people do need trainings, I mean, we do a training at Latham, which we've done for so we've done trainings within Latham, but also I've done it for clients as well. And so if people would like that offering as well, it's just something I'll do for free for just coming in and talking to people.
Wow. Amazing.
So there's also that, and I also know of another really good two ladies called Global Butterflies.
I've heard of Global Butterflies.
And they do really good training sessions for corporates as well, I think.
They've got quite good legal expertise, like legal sector specific.
But obviously if anyone wants a chat,
definitely
do reach out. And also you just be people are very happy to help and they want to do these things.
Yeah.
So I think like reach out and just, even if you want like a 15-minute Zoom with someone to just go,
Yeah.
I'm scared about this, and for them to go, don't be scared about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But yeah.
Thank
Thank
you
you so
for coming,
much,
guys.
Stevie.
for having
It's been
us.
amazing.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, cheers, Steve.
Great.
Not misgendering the host.
Yeah.